The call for more transparency increasing tonight following the murder almost 50 years ago of a Western Mass 13-year-old altar boy. This a day after we learned of evidence tying now deceased former Catholic priest Richard Levine to that crime. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordyn Jagolinzer. We have team coverage tonight of the case that's captivated people in our area for nearly 50 years. Leon Purvis is standing by with more from the victim's family lawyer and claims from more survivors.
But first, Western Mass News reporter Briseida Landaverde begins with what she's uncovered today. Briseida.
Well, Chris and Jordyn, Danny Croto's former classmate tells us she remembers sitting down next to him in class, and she has now said she didn't know at the time what he was going through.
You know, it was sad.
Flowers placed on the Springfield gravestone of Danny Croto by a former classmate and friend, a place Danny's parents also came to mourn his death over the many years before they died. Danny's father seen here in this video back in 2004. Maureen O'Sullivan sharing with Western Mass News the moment that led up to his body being discovered in the Chicopee River back in 1972.
You know, the word on the street was that, yeah, he was gone and people were out looking. I just feel bad that I sat in a classroom with this kid who was going through what he was going through and knew nothing.
Defrocked Catholic priest Richard Levine, long a suspect, was formally tied to Danny's murder on Monday. The Hamden district attorney saying he had the evidence to charge Levine with murder had he not died this past Friday. On Tuesday, O'Sullivan joined a rally calling for the Diocese of Springfield to release any information they have on the case and any other files of other clergy sexual abusers they know of.
Church, a Catholic diocese, asking a bishop to be open, honest, and transparent.
O'Sullivan says Danny's death and the many sexual abuse allegations against priests that have come out over the years made her take a step back from the Catholic Church.
I feel like there's a lot of good priests, a lot of good nuns I was taught by, and then there's those that just were evil. And we have a hard time, I think the Diocese of Springfield has a hard time coming to grips with that. And standing up.
And she's calling on the DA's office to release the full clips of audio recordings from Levine confessing he was the last person to see Danny alive.
Until people of our generation can really, I think, see and hear the evidence that's there, it's still an open case.
O'Sullivan offers her condolences for anyone who has ever been a victim of sexual abuse. And the district attorney's office has also set up a hotline for any victims who are seeking help. For more information, head to westernmassnews.com. For now, reporting live in Springfield, Briseida Landaverde for Western Mass News.
Briseida, thanks for that live report. Our team coverage turns to the possibility of more victims coming forward against Richard Levine.
Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis joins us live with more on how new cases could be prosecuted. Leon.
Chris, Jordyn, I spoke with a local attorney who believes more victims of sexual abuse will come forward. And he also tells us how new cases could hold up in civil court.
So I think there is likely a lot of Richard Levine survivors who will now come forward because they know he's never going to follow through with the threats he made to them as children.
Attorney John Stepersky explaining to Western Mass News how survivors of Richard Levine could now be vocal about what happened in the past. The lawyer tells Western Mass News he interviewed over 50 people who claim to be victims of Levine. We are getting answers on what it takes to prosecute a case that may date back decades.
What is really important is when it begins to run. And the law states that it begins to run when a survivor makes a causal connection that their harm, say they have problems with relationships or substance abuse issues, was caused by the abuse.
Stepersky goes on to say it's a case-by-case determination.
They can know that they're abused all their lives, and they can know that they have problems, but it's when they make that connection. So it's an individual analysis on each case.
So I asked Stepersky, how can one prove abuse in civil court? He uses Richard Levine as an example.
When you talk to people, you hear what he said, you hear kind of the music he played, what he did with alcohol, where he took them. So it's really kind of putting together a lot of circumstantial evidence about what you know about the guy, what you know about what happened, and to determine the truthfulness of the allegation.
You may be wondering, how do you prosecute someone who is dead? That lawyer telling us that victims would go after the church or supervisors. Now, he also adds, oftentimes when these cases are very old, it could present some challenges with gathering facts. Live in Springfield, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Leon, thanks for that live report. And we have a special true crime edition inside the altar boy's murder tomorrow night. We take an in-depth look at the case over the last 49 years. Former Western Mass News reporter Ray Herschel covered the case and weighs in on how it impacted the community.
This is something that obviously was very painful to the Croto family, all the other survivors of clergy sex abuse as well, and the entire community. It was shocking, and it really set the community back, and people at that time were wondering how, in fact, could this have occurred? Could a parish priest have been involved in this particular murder, because it was such a heinous crime?
And hear much more on our special True Crime series Wednesday at 11 p.m. on Western Mass News.
We're following breaking news now in North Adams, where a junkyard fire has forced the town to ask all residents to stay indoors.
Western Mass News reporter Kayla Burton joins us live from that scene with the very latest. Kayla, what can you tell us?
Chris and Jordan, you can still smell the smoke here as crews have been working all morning to put this fire out. But I want you guys to take a look here. This is at the junkyard, by the way, just off of State Street in North Adams. They're using this pole right here to measure the humidity in the air. Fire crews tell me it's extremely helpful to do so when it comes to a situation like this. Now, the cause of the fire is still unknown. They're still working to find out what caused this fire. As of right now, what they do know and what we know is one car was set on fire, and it actually spread to multiple cars, causing a whole lot of smoke in the air. It also caused the city to ask residents to stay inside and shut all windows. That's the situation right now. Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts also closed for the day. They're asking everyone to remain inside until further notice. As of right now, there have been no reported injuries. South Hadley Fire Department, they're also here assisting. And as mentioned, there are many crews here on this scene. Fire crews tell me that they are going to be working to put out this fire all night. They say because it is so hot right now, it does not help the situation. The smoke has calmed down since this morning, but as mentioned, you can definitely still smell the smoke in the air. Coming up later on Western Mass News at 6, you're going to hear from fire crews and city officials and more on this situation. So make sure that you stay with us both on air and online. We know this is a very serious and a concerning situation, so stick with Western Mass News. But for now, live in North Adams, Kayla Burton, Western Mass News.
A warm afternoon with temperatures back into the middle and upper 70s, actually upper 70s for most locations. Even Pittsfield hitting a high of 76, and we were just shy of 80 in Westfield. In fact, I think Greenfield and getting into some of the hill towns here in Franklin County did manage to reach 80 degrees. Currently, we're back down to about 74 right now. We're looking out from our MGM Skycam. We can see some scattered patchy cloud cover. Still very breezy and still fairly comfortable as far as dew points go, ranging in the 50s. However, that will start to change later on tonight. Right now, Charlemont actually still at 80 degrees. Everyone else is in the 70s, and we will be gradually cooling off tonight, but not going to be nearly as cool tonight as the last few nights. One, we keep a breeze around. Right now, it's windy at about 10 to 15 miles an hour, occasionally a little gustier than that. Two, we have more cloud cover coming in that'll continue to build overnight tonight, maybe even a stray shower, and dew points will be climbing, and we are expecting those to get into the 60s. So temperatures tonight are only going to drop into the 60s through midnight with partly cloudy skies. Overnight, our lows will only reach middle to upper 50s. Then as we head into the day tomorrow, we are expecting a dry start, a very warm afternoon with highs hitting about 90 and the chance for some severe weather. We'll take a look at all the details in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Jenna, thanks. The Department of Public Health releasing today's COVID-19 data. The state's positivity rate over the past week sits at under 1%. The state seeing 10 new deaths, sadly, from the virus, and so far, just about half of Massachusetts residents have been fully vaccinated. For a full look at those numbers, you can check out our free Western Mass News streaming app.
State education officials are laying out a roadmap to help districts make up for lost time next school year. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education holding a meeting today. They say this roadmap is designed to help districts create an academic plan for the 2021-22 year. DESE Commissioner Jeff Riley explaining this will be beneficial to students, families, and staff alike.
The roadmap identifies 3 key priorities for the next school year: creating a sense of belonging for students and families, monitoring student understanding, and ensuring access to grade level content.
Riley says the roadmap will provide month-by-month priority actions to monitor the plan's progress.
Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno announcing today that the city will start reopening all of its municipal buildings to the public June 1st. This as the city and state continue to see more residents get vaccinated and COVID cases trend downwards. Throughout the pandemic, residents and businesses were required to make appointments to access the city's buildings in person. Mayor Sarno also saying all city employees will return to their normal work schedules.